Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is so scuffed, but it's okay. I woke up early and I said, you know what? This was what I want to do the podcast on. This is our first podcast in about a month and a half. That's fine. I am here with, what do you want to be called? Do you want me to just call you by your actual name? Do you want to go by Ben Kai? What do you want to go by?
Do you go by your actual name or do you go by your Mr. Wednesday?
You can call me by my actual name.
All right, just call me Ish.
All right. So we are here with Ish. Ish, introduce yourself to the people that will be listening to this in the future.
Hello, people. I'm Ish. I'm very good friends with Kelso, Mr. Wednesday, and I'm a big fan of MMA. So, I know a little bit. I'm just a good fan, so I know a few guys. I know generally what to expect in a fight, but it is MMA, so anything could happen. But this is actually a fantastic card,
Yes.
and I am looking forward to it very much so, and I can't wait to get started.
Yes, absolutely. A question, do you have a Verdict account?
A verdict account? No.
So Verdict is like a free app that I found out about. No plug, by the way. This is just something that I figured he should have, if anything. It's a free app where it's literally you just predict fight cards. And it's not just UFC. It's like Bellator, BKFC, like it's everything. And it's just a cool little thing to do. I was gonna say
Nice.
you should download it, get one. Join me.
Verdict.
Yes, it's just Verdict. It's on the App Store.
So it's just a free prediction
Yeah.
app.
Yep. And you get like experience and stuff, and they like depending on how many you get right, like you get like belts, not like championship belts, but like you start out like what's the lowest jiu-jitsu one? Brown belt, white belt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's a cool little thing to do where it's like you can still predict if you don't want to like actually bet money at the same time. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Um. Yeah, and I'm assuming you can like have friends on there and you can see what they pick.
Yes, they actually have like world common picks and then friend common picks. Like when you look at who's fighting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I recently actually got into betting on the fights.
I think I'm gonna
So,
bet tonight.
oh
I,
yeah, like
yeah,
I do know more than 20 or 30, but it definitely makes the fight more interesting. If you're putting down money, you don't mind losing.
absolutely. I mean, it was a parlay on shit, what was it? I think it was the night where Korean Zombie fought Volk. It was like
Okay.
if Korean Zombie, Gilbert, and I think it was Aljo. Yeah, Aljo was on the card. If they all won, it was like if you threw down $20, it was like a 2,400 return. So I had to.
Like all three had to win.
All three had to win. Didn't matter
Yeah.
how. And that's part. I'll admit that's part of the reason I was biased for Gilbert, even though I thought Gilbert was being very much whatchamacallit, underrated by the people.
Mm.
That threw the betting odds on there because there was no way in hell I thought Hamzat should have came in the favorite. But I mean, great fight anyway. Hamzat came away with the win. To this day, I still think not a robbery, but I do still think Gilbert won. I got to rewatch the fight though.
Well, yeah, I think that showed us that Hamza is human, and I honestly think he needs to work a little bit, I guess, on his maybe his head movement or his distance because he was getting clipped quite a few times, getting like lulled into that dogfight, kind of like that Gaethje and Chandler fight where they stop fighting intelligently and just really go at it because they love that shit, right?
Yeah,
Um, and so it really tells us if like Hazmat's definitely top level, but maybe not championship level yet. He still needs to work a little bit on his defensive striking. I don't know his takedown defense because I don't know anyone who's really tried to take him down. Doesn't have a
true.
lot of time in the octagon. But if Burns inflicted that much damage on him, I think then that's an indicator that Usman probably would have definitely defeated him, TKO or decision.
Yeah.
Um, I think actually Hazmat is set to fight Kobe, right?
They're working on it. I don't think it's official yet. I think they're ironing out pay and stuff like that because Colby's going to be asking for an arm and a leg as he should.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's going to be Hamzat's biggest test up to that point, up to this point. Even with him just fighting Gilbert, I think people forget Gilbert was like a couple seconds away from beating Usman at one point in that fight. before Usman came back and beat him. So
He
very
knocked
interesting.
him. Well, he didn't knock him out, but he like TKO'd him, or like he knocked him. He knocked him down with a jab,
Yeah,
which I found pretty sick.
yeah. Corner. I didn't actually watch the fight. I missed that one because I think it was in a different country. And I think the time was different. I don't remember though. Maybe I just didn't watch it. I don't remember. But I remember seeing a couple sites talk about how like Usman was kind of losing, and then his corner told him like exactly what changes to make, and he went out, implemented the changes, and then the fight just completely turned on its head. Gilbert didn't have an answer for him.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
I
by the way,
remember that.
for the people listening to this in the future, I am recording this on Twitch. I don't know if that's going to be the standard forever, but if you hear a couple sub notifications or follow notifications, that is why. Yusuf, thank you very much for the 7 months. To kind of get into the card though, let's not go on a Kamzat tangent because I'm sure we will talk about him much more in the future. But one fight I do want to put on the sidebar and talk about on the prelims, we have Ryan Spann against Dominic Reyes, and they're not even the main event of the prelims.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I really want to see Dominic Reyes turn around. I do not think Dominic Reyes is a bad fighter. I mean, he got caught by Jan, and he actually knocked out Jiri before waking him back up, and then ended up losing that barn burner of a fight. That fight was absolutely insane.
Yeah. I like Reyes. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Was he undefeated when he fought Jones, and Jones was his first loss?
He was undefeated, yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. So he's on. He's on. I don't think he's won since.
He has not.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because
Maybe he'll make a slight comeback the way Johnny Walker did.
I think he's better than Johnny Walker, so I think he's definitely
sure.
capable. He's definitely capable.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a good guy, man.
I mean, honestly, he was 2 seconds away from beating. I mean, he essentially beat the guy who's the champion right now. It's just unfortunate circumstances, things happen, fights happen. But yeah, I would love to see Dominic Reyes turn it around. I mean, he's got the John Jones curse, but I know Spann's also a monster. I haven't seen enough of him, I'll be honest, so I can't give a true opinion on it because he usually main events fight nights. But if he wins this fight, I'm sure he'll be the next time he fights will be on a main card.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. If he gets a win, for sure. Yeah. And if it's in an entertaining fashion, he gets a good finish. I agree. That's kind of sad. He's on the prelims, but I don't even know what his ranking is. I'm assuming he'd still be in the top 15, maybe on the bottom of it, like maybe 13 or something.
Reyes, good question.
Yeah, I don't know his ranking, but
I don't know either.
3-fight lose streak. Another little, not a sleeper fight, but like an entertaining fight would be the last prelim card, Brad Riddell and Moicano.
So I know nothing about that. So inform me. Why should I care about that?
Brad Riddell is a teammate of Adesanya. Super entertaining guy. Moicano is he's kind of like on a bit of a loose streak. But still like he's a great striker. Assuming if this fight stays on the feet, I think it'll be an interesting striking match, honestly.
Okay.
There's actually it doesn't puff up Moicano, but there's actually a beautiful knockout with the Korean Zombie and Moicano. He just like perfectly countered him and like just a flush knockout. But I still think that's going to be a great fight. Personally, I think Riddell will take it. I forgot who he fought last time. Riddell.
I don't know. Honestly, I kind of this was kind of something I decided like I'm definitely doing this like yesterday, and it was late yesterday, so I only really had time to write down stuff for the main card stuff, and I just happened to see Spann and Reyes on the prelims, and that's why I was like, huh. But question, obviously off topic. What time are we getting to the bar tonight? Are we gonna be able to see those fights?
I forgot about that. Well, I mean, they're probably gonna play it at the bar, right? I don't really want to watch it at the bar, but I'll probably have it on your phone. I don't know if you. I don't know.
I was gonna say because I don't want to miss this card.
No. This is a good no. No, I think what time? What time is it? If I'm gonna guess, earliest 7 o'clock.
Oh damn, we're going early, really.
And is that I don't know if is that even early? Is early? I don't know.
That is early. I
Um,
was gonna say prelims will have just been like prelims will only be half
yeah,
done at that point.
yeah. Main card starts at 10. So okay, well then maybe that's good news then.
That is true.
Because like we can kind of get the majority of our bar stuff done early-ish, and then by the time we get home, like let me see this. By the time we get home, we'll really get into the thick of the main card. Like, okay, worst case scenario, although I basically want to see every fight. Worst case scenario, if we're there late ish, we'd miss Frankie Edgar and Dan Hooker. But I definitely don't want to miss. If I could only watch two fights, it'd obviously be Adesanya and Poirier, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but I do want my man Dan Hooker to make a comeback because I he has been he's like almost going through like
Yeah.
the Tony treatment. You know, he's just been losing. I think it was ever since his fight, that amazing war he had with Poirier.
Well,
Um,
here's our transition to talk about the main card. Our first fight on the main card is the aforementioned Dan Hooker, and I cannot pronounce this guy's last name, Claudio Puelis.
Puelis, yeah,
Puelis.
probably. He's probably
Okay.
like Brazilian. I don't even know.
So, couple little tidbits of facts for those of you, because I know a lot of you that are listening to this. As it stands right now, are only really listening to it because I'm the one talking about it. So you may not know exactly what's going on here. But to give you an idea, Dan Hooker went from back-to-back Fight of the Year contenders, one with Dustin Poirier, and the one before that, which a lot of people forget, versus Paul Felder, which unfortunately a lot of people feel like he
Yeah,
lost, me included. I kind of feel like Felder took that fight. I think Dan Hooker got it because he had home field advantage. I digress.
that was
Um,
his retirement fight, I believe.
no, he fought. He came back and he fought Dos Anjos, and he retired after
Ah,
that because he came back and fought him on
okay,
short notice. Um,
okay.
but I think that was his last fight up to that point. Um, so Hooker is always a fun guy to watch. Unfortunately, he's lost 4 of his last 5. Um,
Damn.
and yeah, about 2 years ago, he had that absolute war. A little over 2 years ago now. It was the summer of 2020.
It
Because
was
they were in the
COVID.
empty arena. It was COVID. Yep, I remember because I was watching it with John. John was staying with me at the time.
Yeah.
Um, Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier went to absolute war. Dan Hooker has not looked great since. He got knocked up by Chandler. He lost a
Yeah.
decision to somebody. I didn't write that down. And he got Kimura. He got his arm ripped off by Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
So we would like to see Dan Hooker win. Claudio, on the other hand, has only lost his UFC debut, which was the finale of The Ultimate Fighter, Latin America. He's won his last 5 fights, and 3 of those 5 came by way of knee bar, specifically knee bar. So, very
Interesting.
interested to see how Dan Hooker deals with this guy. I actually have Dan Hooker getting submitted by knee bar in the first round, unfortunately. But
Oh no.
I would like to see, actually, funnily enough, to go back to verdict, because it adds a little later to this. The common opinion is that Dan Hooker by knockout, but I think that's more so people liking Dan Hooker and wanting to see the resurgence. But until he does something to make me
Yeah.
believe in the resurgence, I'm on the Dan Hooker is kind of washed train.
I typically like to bet on guys I'm a fan of anyway, and if they're gonna lose, I don't bet at all. But I'm gonna take a closer look at the odds. If Hooker has a pretty good underdog odds, I might drop 10 or 20 bucks on him.
It's not bad.
For that resurgence. But typically when I bet, I always get the favorites. So I guess this is like a little, I don't know, throwing my coin in the wishing well kind of thing. But we'll see.
For those of you listening to this, we do not give gambling advice. I feel like I have to point that out just in case somebody
Yeah,
throws money down and they lose. I am not Errol Hawani. He is not Chael Sonnen. We should not be listened to when it comes to who you're putting your money down on fights. We do it because, adds a little layer, adds a little interest to fights that you may not even care about. Like
yeah.
Sean O'Malley and Peter Yan, but we'll talk
Oh
about
yes.
that. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I need to see some down Dan Hooker. I don't want to see him lose, but at this point, the faith is gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ever because I've been a fan of him ever since I saw the Poirier fight.
Right.
So you hate to see it. You really
Yeah.
hate to see it, but Who knows? Maybe. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about Puelas. I don't know too much about him other than he got to the finale of The Ultimate Fighter, and he ended up losing. But then he's won his last 5. So who knows? Maybe this is this guy's coming out party. Maybe he really inserts himself. They're fighting at lightweight, so maybe he inserts himself into the lightweight rankings, even if it's at like number 13, whatever Dan Hooker is. And yeah, I'm interested to see where that fight goes.
Yeah, same.
All
Hopefully.
right. Sorry, were you about to say something? I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
I'm just basically hoping he doesn't lose. I hope Dan Hooker makes a comeback, but we'll
Fair
see.
enough. All right. Our next fight on the card, we have what is quite possibly, a lot of people are calling it the retirement match. Frankie Edgar, legend of the sport, versus Chris Gutierrez. For our little intro here, Frankie Edgar, for those of you who do not know, I'm sure most of you know, but for those of you who do not know, Frankie Edgar is an absolute legend of the UFC. He's been around at this point, I don't even know how long. He was the one who dethroned BJ Penn when BJ Penn was on top and he looked unstoppable. He is the one who had those absolute 3 wars with Gray Maynard. And he is the one who, even long after people thought he was done, washed, what have you, he still stayed like top 5 in featherweight rankings. Am I right in that?
Top 5? I'm not sure about that. Let me see.
At least top 10. He was definitely top 10. I know that.
Yeah, no, for sure top 10. I agree with that. Yeah, now I'm like kind of looking back at like 2016, 2015, 17. Yeah, it seems like he was like really at the top of his game in 14 to 15. Yeah, BJ Penn, Cub Swanson, Uriah Faber, Chad Mendez. Basically 14 to 15 were his top years, and then from there he's been trying to, stay afloat, but he does have he has a TKO over Yair. Very interesting.
I did not know that, actually. But
Yeah.
I think that was around the time when people were hyping up Yair as the next big thing, which I still believe he has the potential to be. But, I mean, Yair's worst enemy is Yair. So,
That's true.
with that being said, I mean, Frankie's had some couple ugly losses recently. I mean, the Sandhagen knockout is hard to watch for anybody. You don't like to see anybody like go limp and just face plant, because it's always rough to see, no matter who you are, even if you're an MMA fan. But I mean, especially when it's somebody like Frankie, who's genuinely liked by everybody, just about.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where this is very much one of those fights where he is being fed to the young lion here. That young lion being Chris Gutierrez, who, aside from his UFC debut and a draw he had back in 2020, he's won every other fight. And apparently he has looked very good doing it. And, I mean, I'll be honest, I think this is a fight where we just kind of have to pray Frankie does not get murdered like he did against Cheeto, and like he did against Corey.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off of 2 knockouts, and I mean, the man is 41 years old. However, it would be nice to see him like go out on his shield, and we're hoping maybe for a very entertaining fight to a decision. And I don't think he'll win, but he'll probably end his career on with some honor, in a sense. Really stay in there and show some heart. But we'll see.
Yeah, let's pray.
We'll see if the retirement fight kind of brings something out of it.
Let's pray we don't have a Frankie Edgar to Bellator in 2 years. Let's hope.
41.
Yeah, he is 41. It's always sad to see guys like the older guys go to Bellator, Golden Boy Promotions. Everybody's favorite fight, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell 3. But
oh god,
yeah, I mean, these guys, I get it's tough because it's like, yeah, this is their guy, this is their whole lives, right? And you know who else has this problem and always does this is professional wrestlers. Never know when it's like, all right, this is it. But that's different. It's like with professional wrestling, you can adapt to your age and your style, and you can do things that will keep you safe. MMA is a very unforgiving sport. You're getting punched in the face, kicked in the face. your ribs, your legs. You know, you're being choked out. You're getting your leg ripped apart. And it's just always sad to see when one of those guys just doesn't know when to quit, a la Anderson Silva in the MMA, in UFC. Anderson Silva, BJ, ended his UFC tenure. At one point, you could argue BJ Penn was the best fighter on the planet, and in the end, he lost his last, 8 fights.
Oh, man.
Getting knocked out. Lost a street fight in Hawaii to a drunk guy.
I saw that. I forgot, what was his name? That dude, the really casual dude that got him, he's very he just acts like he's all bored and stuff, but he's really he's wanted to the Imanari roll on him in 8 seconds.
Ryan Hall.
Yes. I'll never forget that. It was just so sad. Oh my God, BJ Penn, he's still here. He's on this big card. Gets Imanari rolled literally, I think, in 12 seconds.
Yeah,
that was something.
The fall of BJ Penn could be its own 1-hour video. From the prodigy to the. I don't even. I'll think of a title for that later. But BJ Penn, man, it's very. I love BJ. Was just a guy you could tell loved the fight and still loves to fight, which is why he stuck around for so long. I mean, the Sean Shirk, you're dead. Friggin' telling George St. Pierre he's gonna kill him, which was taken out of context as we learned later. And I don't know. My favorite fight celebration, as disgusting as it is, was licking the blood off the gloves. I always thought that was that was barbaric as shit. It's up there with
it was.
Tito Ortiz's Gravedigger, but we're not here to talk about BJ Penn. We're here to talk about the guy who started the fall of BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar. But yeah, I mean, moral of the story, Gutierrez, this is his biggest fight up to this point, because I think his last fight I looked at was Clay Guida in 2022. That doesn't mean too much, but it's not 2005 anymore. But I'm interested because I think if any old fighter is gonna beat a young lion like this, that's good, I should say, because Andrei Arlovsky, they keep throwing bums at him, and Arlovsky keeps knocking him out, and they don't know what to do with him. But I think if any older fighter has a chance of beating a young lion, I do think it's Frankie, because Frankie I think him getting knocked out by Sandhagen was the first time he's ever been flatlined. So, that says something after so long. All right. Moving forward, we have what's going to be fight of the night. I'm
100%
declaring that, barring Carlos Esparza turning into Joanna Violence, we have Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Why are we so excited for this? Let me give you the intro, and then I'll let Ish do his thing. You could argue Poirier was the best lightweight on the planet after Khabib retired. He was pulling guard away from beating Khabib and being the only person to ever do it. He chose to fight Conor for the big money fight instead of going for the belt, which ended up we'll get to that, I should say. He beats Conor twice, makes a massive payday doing it. Ever since, God, looking back, he fought Eddie Alvarez, great fight. Gaethje, the only guy to knock out Gaethje at that point, great fight. He fought Dan Hooker in what was, honestly, out of the 3 fight of the years that year, because it was that fight, Joanna and Whaley, and then it feels like just yesterday, Figueiredo Moreno won. I think that was the weakest of the 3, but I think it was still a fantastic fight. Absolutely amazing. Really showed Dustin's heart. Dustin, there's never a boring fight with this guy. He ended up losing in his title bid to Charles Oliveira, and at this point, I mean, in my opinion, this is the Conor McGregor sweepstakes. That's what I'm calling it. I think whoever wins this is fighting Conor when Conor decides to come back, but that's just me. And then we have Michael Chandler, who, Bellator legend, absolute, monster in Bellator. His fights with Eddie Alvarez are iconic. He comes to the UFC, knocks out Dan Hooker, our aforementioned guy, in the opening fight of the main card. Ends up knocking out Dan Hooker. He gets a title fight against Charles Oliveira, and up to that point, made it look close, which nobody up to Islam really did with Charles for the better part of 5 years at this point, 5-6 years. Chandler's another one. Only entertaining fights. Him and Gaethje had fight of the year last year. Chandler with the fantastic call out of Connor, but I think Connor's smart enough to know that he's not that guy anymore, and he's just going to take his money and call it a day. People can keep calling him out all he wants. Connor's not coming back. Sorry, Connor fans. But this fight is going to be absolutely insanity. If you think this fight's going to a boring decision, absolutely not. This is going to be our Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones, Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald 2 level violence, and I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to it. So my favorite Chandler fight thus far has definitely been the Gaethje fight.
Yes.
That was incredible. Maybe he learned a lesson from that and won't be lulled into that same love for a dogfight mentality and stay smart. But looking at Michael Chandler, looking at his record here, I'm honestly thinking I don't think he's going to win against Poirier. I don't think that means he's terrible. That just means Poirier is just that good. I agree, he is the best lightweight on the planet besides Khabib. I always said that if Khabib wasn't there, Poirier would 100% be the undisputed champ. If you look at Poirier's losses, it was only submission, right? He got choked by Khabib, and then
choked again
submitted
by Charles.
He got backpacked by Charles or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, both by choke. So I don't see Chandler choking him out.
Nope.
I do think not. Chandler. I think the way Chandler does win this fight, however, even though I don't think he will, is and the guy has power, right? But I think Chandler's going to go for, he's going to try to strike with him and see how that goes while he's fresh. But if it doesn't work out, if I were Chandler, I would use my wrestling skills. Poirier is a very good wrestler, but Chandler is, I think, a level above him in regards. If Chandler can manage to...
We can't hear you. Something happened.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
I got a phone call, but I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Chandler manages to keep Poirier on the ground. He can maintain control and get basically exhaust him and get a little bit of damage in him to kind of neutralize his striking in a sense, get the wind out of his sails. That's the only way I can see him winning. But I got Poirier on this. I mean, you look like Chandler beat Tony. Unfortunately, yes. And I love Tony. We all love Tony. That's not saying much. However, it is a great feat to what he did to Tony. He flatlined him with a Silva kick, right?
Only person ever to do it.
Yeah, that's huge. And what's really sad is if you actually watch that fight, Tony was doing pretty good in that first round. I was psyched.
I remember because
I was psyched.
Funny story in regards to that. A friend of mine was actually up from Florida, and I said, "Oh, we're gonna go watch the UFC fight this weekend," and we went out to Chickies and Pete's, and Noah was there, and a bunch of other people were there, and we saw it. And I remember going on Twitter because everybody after round one was like, El Kukui's back, Tony's back, he looks fantastic. Oh my God, we got the Boogeyman's back. Cannot wait, this fight's gonna be awesome. And then literally like not even a minute after Ariel Helwani tweets out saying something like the exact same thing. He's like, I think Tony's back. I think like this is the proof that Tony still got it. Like literally not even 30 seconds later, Chandler with the front kick absolutely just flatlines Tony Ferguson. So sad.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like watching a superhero die. It's like that's you don't have to see them like getting lit, like seeing Tony goddamn Ferguson, the Boogeyman, limp on the canvas like that. It was really sad to see that.
Yeah. And then you saw him leave the cage, and you could see in his eyes that like he was not there. It was very scary. Like I said, it's very scary no matter what. Even if you're an MMA fan, it's always scary to see some guy get flatlined like that because like when they wake up, it's very jarring.
Oh yeah, and it's just sad with Tony. I mean, he's such a badass, but honestly, I would say that beating. I mean, it was a. I'm almost not even going to call it a fight. That beating he took from Gaethje was horrifying. I was watching a rated R movie. That was horrifying. That was
he landed one big shot at the end of round 2.
He did that. He had that uppercut, but that I would say that and Holloway and Ortega, those are probably the worst 2 beatings I've seen in MMA.
Oh wait, did you not watch Cater in Holloway? That one was bad.
I did see that too. I did see
Yeah.
that too. I remember that. Yeah, that's true. Where he was just like in the Matrix and
Yep.
dodging shit, yelling,
Well,
"I'm the best boxer."
at the same time, Ortega was undefeated going into that fight, and that was also a big title fight at the same time. So I get that one gets weighed a little more. I remember because
Yeah.
you and I watched Ferguson Gaethje. We were watching it online.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was
legally. We were watching it legally through pay-per-view streaming apps.
Yes.
Yes, legally watching these. Um,
And
I remember because as soon as it ended, you like yelled at me, and I was just like, "Fuck, I have nothing. I can't say anything." Like that was just outside of the uppercut at the end of round 2. Tony just was not there.
I think because of COVID, right? When you have no crowd, it's just a quiet like gymnasium or
Yep.
stadium or whatever, and you just hear every strike. You
Yep.
hear their heavy breathing. It feels more brutal. It's like watching a brutal movie scene, but there's no music to kind of cushion it. It's just violence and violence and violence. I was sick.
Yes.
But that was, as they say, I think that's Gaethje took Tony's soul, unfortunately, and
And
age isn't helping either.
because everyone expected the Tony and Nate fight to be like, just non-stop violence, which is kind of what I was hoping for. But then like the laziest guillotine choke. Like that's not even a knock on Nate. That's not a knock on Nate. Just Tony letting himself get caught in it was just very, very sad to see because it was just I couldn't even tell he was in a guillotine. He just went down and then tapped.
Yeah, that pissed me off. I really wanted Tony to win that, honestly, and I think he was doing really well. And I don't know what happened. Like it was like, I'll say for the storyline, that's like a perfect ending for Nate Diaz. He did the whole middle finger or whatever, like
Yep.
flexing his arms. I think it was a triangle, right?
No, it was a
Was it a
guillotine.
triangle?
It was a
It was a
guillotine.
guillotine. Okay,
Yep.
so there was one armed, and he was like flexing, like I'm the man, yeah, Nate Diaz, and then everyone like probably fucking shit their pants. Like it felt almost like Tony just like gave up.
He's
I'm
done.
not gonna say rigged, but it was just
It's not.
Nate is
Yeah.
a great jiu-jitsu guy,
Yeah, I think Tony's just done. I think Tony needs to hang it up. I mean, Tony doesn't think he needs to hang it up, and unfortunately, Tony's the guy who has the say in the matter. But it'll get to a point that no promotions will hire him. But like Bellator will get their one Tony Ferguson fight. Like it will be Tony Ferguson versus fucking Gegard Mousasi in 2025, and Tony will be murdered by everyone's favorite IT guy, and
Yeah.
that is not a racial knock, by the way. If you look at Gegard Mousasi, he literally just looks like an IT guy. He
Oh,
just
dude.
seems the most unsuspecting person, and turns out he's one of the best fighters to actually ever grace an MMA octagon ring wherever he's fighting.
I always said like if there was some kind of like fantasy football kind of like thing where with MMA, and if you like needed that like sleeper guy where it's like, hey, I just started the game, but I need a really good guy that's actually at a low price, but he's actually too good and he should be at a much higher price, but isn't. I feel like it'd be Gegard Mousasi. You'd be like, yo, yeah, get this dude. He's not very popular, but he's actually super freaking good, and he's championship level. No, but not a lot of people really know him.
It's crazy. Well, it's because he went to Bellator so early. Because it was like when Rory left for Bellator, Rory didn't really have anything left to do. Same with Bader. Like they both got out at a good time for them. Gegard was like, because Bader had just lost to Tito. I think it was like Brian Bader lost to fucking Tito Ortiz out of nowhere.
That's weird.
Rory McDonald lost to Robbie, and I think Bellator just offered him a lot of money. But Gegard was like literally like one fight away from the belt, and realistically, he probably would have won. Yeah, he lost to Uriah Hall, but then he makes his comeback, and boom, Bellator out of nowhere, and then goes to Bellator, wins the belt.
He's the
one who fought. He's had a couple fights with Douglas Lima, right? Or is that a different division? I think it's somebody else.
No, he beat Douglas. That's the guy that knocked out Michael Venom Page.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
yes, yes.
beat him. No, yeah, he beat Lima. He beat who did he beat? He just lost, unfortunately, his belt.
Yes,
But
apparently
no, yeah, he beat.
the guy he lost to is apparently a monster.
Yeah, it's a shame. He probably wrestled him. I don't know. I didn't get to see that fight, unfortunately.
I was gonna say
But
Bellator. I really should watch more. I don't make time, unfortunately.
I watch a little bit of it. Actually, I'm pretty excited for one of the Bellator title fight coming up right now. It's like one of Khabib's cousins or something. You know, Khabib has like 25 cousins.
Of course, of course.
Bellator. His name's Usman. Yeah, Usman Nurmagomedov.
Yes, yes, I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he's fighting the champ. Uh, Pitbull.
Oh,
But I think it's another Pitbull, or it's the same Pitbull.
I think yeah. I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, that's another guy, undefeated. This guy, I do watch Bellator, but only for a select few. This dude, Usman Nurmagomedov, and he's very entertaining. He doesn't just grapple like Khabib, like he strikes too. He's very entertaining. Undefeated, 15-0, only 24 years old, and he's fighting for the belt. And he's fighting against Patrick Patricky. I don't even know.
Patricio?
Patricky Ferrari. I don't even know.
Hold on. No, see,
Uh,
I gotta look it up.
Yeah, but he's fighting for the belt, so that's going to be a good fight. You should. He's a very good fighter, Usman Nurmagomedov. But yeah, I watch Bellator to watch Gegard,
Oh, that's on my
Usman.
birthday.
Huh?
That's on my birthday.
Awesome.
Yes.
No,
Now
yeah, that's going to
I
be a
have
good
something to
fight
watch
for
my
sure.
birthday then.
Yeah, no, he's very entertaining. Undefeated, dude. Very good.
All right, we have gotten way off topic from UFC 281. We're down talking about
But
Bellator.
yeah,
I think that was 288.
and here we are. We're talking about Poirier and Chandler, probably like the best fight we could talk about.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a fun segue because Chandler used to be the face of Bellator at one point.
Very true.
Yes, so see, it was all segue. It was all segue. Everything we do here is calculated and manipulated. So,
Very true.
with that being said, I am also of the agreement that Poirier is going to win this fight. I think it's going to be an insane fight. I don't think he's been shied away from the barn burner as seen by round one of Tony and Chandler. I think he's a little better at picking his spots, but I definitely still think he's going to walk forward at him. Dustin's going to walk forward at him as well, and they're just going to punch each other in the face until one guy doesn't move anymore.
Oh yeah. I think Poirier is the better striker. I really do. He's fantastic. I'm a huge Poirier fan. I think he's the better striker, and Chandler does have that power, but I do think Poirier can take a punch for sure.
Absolutely.
And Chandler, he's a good guy. He's very good. He's like, but when you look at his fights, he's beaten Hooker and Ferguson. Think about that. You know, and it's still, I still know Chandler. He's like championship level. He's a great guy, but you look at it. The guy's only beaten Hooker and Ferguson, two guys that are like on 5-fight lose streaks.
Okay, but
So
to argue that he was a couple seconds away from beating Oliveira, the bell saved Oliveira, and then Oliveira caught him. So that has to be taken into account. And you can argue he beat Gaethje. You can argue.
I have to rewatch that fight. I remember that was when I was at training, when I had like no cell phone for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being on the bus. I finally had my phone back, and I was on the bus, and I was just kind of recapping everything I missed, because you're literally just cut off from the world. And I remember seeing that Gaethje and Chandler fight, and that was just insane. I have to actually watch that back to back, like from beginning to end.
So
that's.
I watched it back not too long ago, and I was actually shocked they gave it to Gaethje. Honestly, like if you watch it back, like Gaethje definitely won. I think it was round 2. I think round 2 is where he got the knockdown. And Chandler definitely won round 3. Round 1 is the one where you can like argue. I may be having my rounds mixed up, but I know there was like one was definitely, and then one was the toss up. Like that one was the one to decide the fight. And I remember sitting there like, really? They gave it to Gaethje? I guess.
Was there even a single takedown?
No, I think it was literally just the one uppercut that knocked Chandler down. I think that was the only time they went to the ground.
I
But
remember that. That one
yeah,
stuck out to me.
yes. Now, with all of that being said, moving forward, because we do have to get off this fight. We've been on this fight for a while. This is definitely, I mean, granted, it's the one that, it's the first one we have a lot to talk about. The next one, I mean, I don't know how much there is to talk about with this one, but we're going to try. We have Carla Esparza and Weili Zhang. I don't know how exactly to pronounce. I'm just going to say Weili because I don't want to offend anybody. All right. Let's get into it. So here's the problem with this fight. Carla Esparza. She's not a problem, so to speak. She's coming off the worst title fight of all time. The worst, most boring fight I've ever seen. It was awful. And that was also on the Chandler Tony card, by the way. Carla ended up winning. A lot of people weren't happy about it, more so because the fight was bad, but also because even though Rose didn't do anything, Carla didn't really do anything. I will say, Carla's on a winning streak. I don't know exactly how much, but I mean, Carla is one of the best submission specialists in women's MMA. I think that cannot be understated. I think Carla is actually a very good fighter. I think she's got a really bad stigma coming off the last fight, so I think she really needs this fight to be a big one for her. I mean, it would be nice to see Carla get a nice win, like a good win, but she's going against somebody who has been at the center of very interesting fights recently. The fight of the year contender with Joanna right before COVID. The last fight with a crowd before COVID. Fight of the year contender with Joanna. I mean, going back and watching it, I kind of feel like Joanna won the fight, but we'll talk about that later. We had her coming back. Her next fight was the first fight back with the crowd, ironically, after COVID. And she got knocked out in 1 minute by Rose Namajunas, the person who had the belt prior to Carla Esparza. She knocks out Joanna Violence in the rematch. And if I remember correct, didn't she rematch Rose? Am I misremembering that? Yeah, not Joanna, Weili. Didn't she get an instant rematch, or am I misremembering?
I remember what you're talking about. Like, yeah,
because she had the short hair.
Yeah. So let me look. I remember because then Rose hit her with. Yeah, they did have a rematch. Yes, they did. Okay. And Rose won both.
Yes.
Yeah, because she did that beautiful feint kick where it looked like it was low, and then she switched it up high.
Yep.
Just perfection.
Yep. That card actually is one of my favorite cards of all time. That was Usman Masvidal 2. And even though even though I knew Game Bred Street Jesus was not winning that fight, I love Jorge Masvidal. So I mean, I was interested in the fight regardless. He gets knocked out in a highlight knockout. One of the better knockouts I've ever seen. You had Weidman's leg break on that card.
Oh.
Yep.
Now I'm just waiting for Uriah Hall's leg to break, because we were discussing is this going to be like a curse that gets passed down?
No, he got out. He's boxing now. He's not.
Oh, he knows.
He knows. He had to get out while he was fresh.
Boxing, like what happened to Connor.
Oh my God. God, what a card. Anyway, yeah, I think this fight, I mean, this is one of those pretty much straight up the middle kind of fights. If it stays on the feet, Weili's winning this no problem. She has no problems pushing forward. If she gets taken down, Carla's winning the fight. I think this is a pretty cut and dry affair. It's going to be... It's one of those fights where it's a mix of styles, and typically in this fight, the striker loses. But I'm interested to see if Weili is able to deal with Carla's takedowns and Carla's, whatchamacallit? I can't think of the word. I lost it. The words lost in me.
Wrestling?
Yes. Thank you. I don't know why that left my brain. All right. But yeah. That's how this fight, there's not much to say, I don't think. There's really not much
I'm a little nervous about it because it's like Weili is supposed to win this, but All this comes down to is how good is Wei Li's takedown defense and her ability to get up, because she is phenomenal. She's an amazing striker. She's very strong. But if you look at Carla Esperanza, she's a wrestler through and through. She knows what she has to do to win. Unless someone like talked to her in the back room and said, "Hey, you got to give us a more entertaining fight. That last fight sucked." I don't know how that all works, but if it's all up to her, I don't think she gives a shit about giving you an entertaining fight. She just wants to keep the belt, and she'll just hug her and lay on her until, for 25 minutes. If you look at her fights, literally, like, it's like the last 5-6 fights, majority of them, like 4 of them, are all decision. It's just majority of her stuff is decision, decision, decision. She controls you on the ground and just waits for the time to run out. And she's very good at it. She's probably one of the best wrestlers in the women's division. So it's not even like, oh, we're going to see some awesome striking engagement. No, we're probably not, because there's no way Carla Esparza is going to outstrike Wei Li.
Not at all.
She's going to take her down, and especially if she even tries to stand with her, she's going to get pieced up, and she's going to shoot. Let's see. I can see it right now. I can see Wei Li on her back, slowly, like holding her head down, like trying to get up. I know it. I can. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know who's going to win, because Wei Li will destroy her on the feet, but I don't know. I think Carla could keep her on the ground. That's what she does. It's kind of annoying. I'm going to be I'm going to be pretty annoyed if she beats Wei Li, because I like Wei Li. I like her as the champ.
So
she really won my heart during that horrible Izzy Romero fight.
yes, the savior of the card.
Yeah, no, that was like, it wasn't that done on like International Women's Day or something like that? No, it wasn't. No, it was like known to be like the best women's MMA fight in history.
It still is, and honestly, out of the 3 fight of the year contenders that year, that was my one. Honestly,
yeah,
that was when I went back and I watched all 3 fight of the year contenders. That was my fight of the year.
Yeah,
it was so
and
good.
Joanna with her Frankenstein Hematobin.
Yep,
that was. Whoa.
So.
Ugh.
Fun. Let's play a little game here. Because you mentioned Carla Esparza taking every fight to decision, laying on people. Here's a trivia question for you. Fill in the blank-ish. Dana White once said about this fighter, "When I put my kids to bed, I put on blanks fights." Who was he just talking about?
I'm assuming it's not Carla Esparza, but
it was
maybe
not
it
Carla.
is.
It was not Carla Esparza. I can answer general knowledge questions if you want to narrow it down.
Well, Jake Shields or something? I don't know.
That era, but not Jake Shields.
Who was boring back then?
There's one guy.
Who was one guy? It's probably a wrestler.
That is correct.
It's not Jake Shields. What weight class?
I'm pretty sure he fought George for the belt. So that would have been lightweight, right?
No, George St. Pierre. That's a welter.
That's welterweight. You're right. Welterweight.
Not Jake Shields.
It was not Jake Shields.
Hello, Tyler.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, Tyler.
He fought George for the belt.
We're doing a podcast right now.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
It should inform me, so I was like, okay, I'll be here.
Understood.
So yeah. Are you sure about that? Well, Jake Shields did fight.
I promise you it was not Jake Shields.
I don't think it's John Finch. Is it John Finch?
It was John Fitch.
It's John Finch?
Yep. Dana White said, "When I put my kids to bed, I put on a John Fitch fight."
Damn.
He did not like John Fitch, even because John Fitch got released on like a 7-fight win streak or something like that. Like, it was something insane.
God.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure John only lost to George. He beat everybody else, but he was just not an entertaining fighter. So he got released. He went to Bellator, and he got knocked out by somebody. Hold on, I gotta look it up now. Because I remember reading about somebody knocked him out in like... No, you know what? Who it was? It was Johnny Hendricks. He got... Yeah. Am I right? Okay, so... Let's see. He lost to George. He ends up going on this massive tear. He fights to a draw with BJ. and then he gets knocked out by Johnny Hendricks in 12 seconds, beats Eric Silva, and then he literally loses to Damian Maia, gets released, goes to World Series of Fighting. He actually, his most recent fight was 2020. He lost to it's a Gracie, so that means his first name's going to be pronounced weird. I'm not even going to try. But he fought Rory McDonald to a draw, and then he fought Gracie, and he lost by submission, and then he retired after the fight back in 2020. He ended up with a record of 32-8.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's great. That is very, very good for somebody who was on top for a very long time, but yeah, just not the most entertaining fighter. And that's what I thought of when you said all her fights go to decision. She just lays on people. I was like, oh my God, it's John Fitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
But the other sidebar, this is a little information tidbit for you. Joanna did an interview, and she said that she doesn't want to come out of retirement permanently, but it was kind of, she said it was very, sudden, not just for the fans, but for herself, that she retired right after the Weili fight. And she said she may want to come back and do like one actual final fight. So yeah, and like actually, because I think she said she did not go into the Weili fight thinking that was going to be her last fight. So a little different from what you usually get when fighters retire and then come back. So if she actually comes back and does one more fight, I would be interested to watch it. I mean, Joanna Violence is a first ballot UFC Hall of Famer. Not even close. I don't think anybody will argue that. I know her last couple years were not great, but I mean, let's be honest. She probably had Valentina's closest fight up to Valentina's most recent fight. I don't know the girl's name she fought off the top of my head because I actually missed that fight.
Okay.
But she actually gave Valentina a fight when nobody else could. Fought Weili. You could argue she beat Weili the first time, but because of how she looked after the fight, the judges obviously, would have given the fight to Weili. And yeah, she lost twice to Rose pretty handily. It happens. Some fighters are just foiled by other fighters. There's a kryptonite there, such as the fight we're going to talk about next. And then she lost to Weili again. It was like a 2-year... She hadn't fought since the first time she fought Weili. So, Joanna is a legend of the sport. I love Joanna. I know she talks a lot of shit. She's very cringe, but I mean, Joanna puts on shows whenever she goes out and fights, and that's why I've always appreciated her.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering who her retirement fight would be. It'd be cool with Rose, but I don't think she'd be winning that. Rose is she's phenomenal.
Yeah, Rose is on a different level than most of the female MMA base. I mean, we'll see. We'll see who she fights. I mean, honestly, she's taken out of the rankings. So, honestly, I would say, like, Carla. Or you do another rematch with Weili, but, like, Weili won the first two. So it's like, I don't know who you would throw against her at this point. So, I don't know. She's already been taken off the UFC rankings, so I don't even know if it would be in the UFC. Who knows? Yeah. But, I mean, she's very well liked by the front office. So, I mean, I'm sure if they were going to make an exception for anybody, it'd be her. So, with that being said, that is our Weili and Carla sidebar talk. Let's talk about the main event. I will let you do the introduction to this one because this is a sitcom story, and I want to hear Ish's storytelling on it.
Okay, so we got Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, and this is a fantastic fight, right? Izzy's last fight, if I remember correctly, was Jared Cannonier.
Unfortunately,
and so I remember specifically. And I think that was also both their last fights were on their last card, right?
Yes.
That was when Pereira knocked out Strickland.
Yep.
And Izzy stopped Cannonier. So I remember watching that with Noah, I believe, and it's a shame because I used to be a big Izzy fan. I thought Izzy was awesome. He was super entertaining. I thought it was hilarious that he was into anime and stuff like that. I thought he was really cool. Last Stylebender, last Airbender. We all loved Izzy. Some of you probably still do. I remember buying the pay-per-view for I got the pay-per-view for the
Yoel.
Yoel, yeah. I didn't just watch it like, at a bar or at a friend's house. Like I myself like got it. And that was also the night Joanna and what's her name? Joanna and Wei Li fought, so that was made it worth it. But man, did I hate that fight, and everyone else did. And Izzy even mentioned in an interview that was probably the worst time of his career because he lost a lot of fans. I really hated that fight. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was a fan of Izzy, but I thought it would have been really hilarious to have this like 44-year-old Cuban dude just knock him out, and just all these like teenagers that love him just be heartbroken. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. But I digress. So I remember not being the biggest fan of Izzy because of that, and kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. I remember watching the Cannonier fight with Noah, and we were hoping Cannonier wins, like, because Cannonier is like this weird spiritual dude who uses crystals and stuff, right? And rocks, and we're like, yeah, we want the rock guy to win, Rock Man, yeah. And I remember Izzy's like does this weird like walkout, right, where he's like wearing like a weird
The Undertaker.
he does the Undertaker thing with the ashes, right?
Yep.
And I told Noah this dude Alex Pereira is like a rival of his in kickboxing and knocked him out twice, so it would be really good for a storyline if he makes it to the belt. But we're like, we want the Rock guy to win. And then when Noah saw the or rather it was the opposite actually. When Noah saw the like, we wanted to see the storyline of him versus Alex, but when we saw him do that very cheesy Undertaker thing, Noah just straight up says, "Oh, you know what? I don't give a shit. I want the Rock guy to kill him. I don't care about the storyline anymore." Like, he was just so desperate to watch him get knocked out. Didn't happen, but I really love this fight because it's that whole thing, because Izzy has been unstoppable. He only lost to Jan, which doesn't really count-ish. It's kind of like Max Holloway and Poirier when Max went to 155. Still a huge feat for Poirier to defeat Max, and I'm not gonna take that away from him. But obviously, that is not Max's weight class, right?
Also
I
a
doubt
fantastic
that
fight, though.
It was a fantastic fight, but that weight he put on, I'm sure, wasn't all muscle. Same thing with Jan. I mean, Izzy just got fat. He just ate. He didn't properly do it the way John Jones is probably doing it right now, where he's been away for 2 goddamn years or something, probably putting on legit muscle and doing God knows what to be a legit heavyweight, right?
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for this fight. Personally, I want Pereira to win, but it's interesting. I look at Pereira, right? The guy is. Do you know how old he is?
Pereira, he's up there, isn't he?
He's 35.
Yeah.
I had this idea, I guess because of his record, because I guess he's kind of new to MMA. You almost get this idea he's 30 or 29 or 28, like he's this young, hungry fighter. But he's 35.
Yeah, he pulled a DC. He made the transition very late because DC started at 32, 33.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I remember that. But I'm sure a lot of people are very angry. He basically skipped the line. I think he is pretty sick, and if you hear Joe Rogan talk about him, how he's this dude, when he hits you, it's like hitting mahogany. That shit. But this will be his 4th fight, so that's something. But it's no easy feat to knock out Sean freaking Strickland in the first round. Although Sean, I don't know if he's a slow starter, but I did not like his distancing and his stance. He was kind of felt a little slow in that first round. Maybe I don't know.
He fights like a bar fighter.
Starter. What?
He fights like a bar fighter. He just kind of throws shit.
Fighter.
He just throws shit
and a bar fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I'm looking forward to Alex Pereira versus Izzy. A lot of people, the body language experts are like, "Oh, Izzy's scared. This, that, and this." I've learned to not even care about that anymore because I used to think, "Oh, John Jones was scared of Gustafsson in their second fight," which is one of the biggest disappointments I've ever had to deal with because I anticipated that fight for 4 months before it happened.
Yeah.
John is scared. This is the one guy. He's 6'4" like him. Oh, didn't work out. So I'm not even going to read into the body language. And I also think even if you are scared at the weigh-ins or at the face-off, fighters have their own little rituals before a fight. and I think that could kind of overcome any kind of press conference BS. You know what I mean? I have to watch that press conference. I actually did not, but I really want to. I'm looking forward to this fight. My prediction, God damn, it better not go to the floor. I'll tell you that. That'd be ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen Izzy shoot on anyone.
No. I mean, Izzy, I did read that Izzy said in an interview, he's like, he might try and take me down. I don't know why he would, but I don't know. Something tells me he might. But I mean,
he's Brazilian.
If you remember when Gastelum took him down, he actually threw up a triangle and almost caught him. So Izzy is not a slouch when it comes to the ground.
Yeah.
He can defend.
And if you look at O'Malley, they're like these long, skinny, lanky dudes. Like they're pretty competent on the ground. They know their jiu-jitsu. They don't really use it, but they know it. And they practice it.
They practice defense because the one way you deal with the strikers, take them down. So the main thing you have to practice is some kind of takedown defense. You got to be able to throw up submissions to really keep them on their toes and not just let them do what they want.
I agree. Yeah. No. So I've seen Izzy, and it's pretty nice. He has long legs. He knows his jiu-jitsu. He's no slouch on that. And that's one statistic that every champion has is a high takedown defense. The ability to keep the fight standing or keep it on the ground is a big aspect that all champions share. So Izzy's takedown defense is pretty good, and I don't think he'll take this. I don't see Pereira taking him down because Pereira's loves standing. That's his strength. I can't wait. I mean, like what are their 6 foot? They're almost identical. They're both 6'3", and Izzy just has a 1 inch reach advantage. They are like identical in size. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to watch this fight. I don't know. I can't imagine this being a boring fight. I really don't. God, I don't even know what to expect. I don't know what to expect because Izzy isn't going to die. I don't think Izzy stands no chance. It almost feels 50-50. I should probably give Izzy more of an advantage. He's proven himself. He's remained undefeated at middleweight. I am hoping for the upset. I wonder what the odds are. I got to check out those odds. But I'm excited. I don't know a lot about Pereira, unfortunately, but I do know he's a big threat, and he's a scary dude.
I have a bold prediction for this fight. Prediction. All right, so here's how it's going to go. We're going to have Pereira walks out, right? Izzy walks out, 0 theatrics. Absolutely no gimmicky entrance. He's going to come out just like Floyd did against Pacquiao. He's going to come out, no theatrics. He's going to walk out, focus. Now, rule of thumb, for those listening that do not know MMA in that way, whenever you bring a guy from outside the promotion or from lower down in the promotion and go, oh, this guy beats this guy in sparring. Oh, this guy beat this guy 5 years ago. This is his biggest threat. 9 times out of 10, actually, I think 10 times out of 10, that guy they bring in gets destroyed. Absolutely not even close. Happened to that guy they said would beat DC in sparring. DC destroyed him. That one Japanese fighter that beat Anderson Silva off a fluke years and years and years ago. Silva destroyed him in the rematch. Henry Cejudo, they brought in this Olympic gold medalist fighter to fight Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson killed him the first time. Granted, Cejudo ended up, becoming one of the best fighters on the planet, but that's at the time, the idea was we're bringing in this gold medalist to deal with DJ, and DJ destroyed him. But here is what I think. Israel's coming off a very boring fight. He's coming off a couple boring fights, actually. Even though I do think Whitaker and him the second time should get more credit than it did. I think that was a good fight.
It was.
Yeah. I think first round's going to be a feel-out process. I don't think Izzy's going to make any stupid moves. I think it's going to be more so Pereira moving forward. And then maybe Izzy, a couple counters, he moves forward a little bit. Stop it. Sorry, my alarm was going off. So nothing's really going to happen the first round. I think the pressure's going to get to Izzy. I think the crowd's going to get a little restless. I think Izzy's going to start moving forward. And I think he gets caught. And I actually think Pereira's going to knock him out. Second round. That's my prediction. Second round, Alex Pereira knockout. This is a bold prediction. It's more so a want, because then we get the Israel Adesanya training arc, and Israel Adesanya comes back as this John Jones at middleweight figure and ends up killing him in the next fight. But for now, I think Izzy gets knocked out second round.
Okay, I can see that.
Bold prediction.
I know, because Pereira, I don't think Izzy's more of he plays like a champ and kind of. He's not really like an early knockout guy. So, but Pereira, from what we've seen, is.
Izzy knocked out Whitaker at round 2.
I don't think. I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say that Izzy knocks him out in like round 1 or something like that.
No, I think. All right. The way I genuinely think it'll happen, like the way my rational brain is thinking, I think Izzy does finish him in like the 3rd, 4th round. I don't think Pereira is ready. Realistically speaking, I don't think Pereira is ready for that level. I think Izzy has transcended. I mean, you saw the Gastelum fight. He looked very human against Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah.
Fantastic fight.
He showed a lot of heart.
That
wouldn't happen again.
That's the fight that made everybody Israel Adesanya fans. But he took that fight.
I agree.
He was a Saiyan. Near death. Ended up coming back stronger. You know, and none of his fights have been close, except for that second Whitaker fight, but that's because Whitaker is the other best middleweight on the planet. So I don't think, realistically speaking, Pereira is not ready. But my insane, mad scientist MMA brain thinks that Alex Pereira is going to knock him out in the second round, and it's going to be this big fucking moment. The crowd's going to jump up, freaking out. Israel's going to have to come back and reclaim the heart of the fans, and he will be the star of the sport. But for now, he goes to sleep tonight.
If I see a badass fight, and if Izzy finishes him, I might become a fan again.
Yes.
If I see some entertaining, cool shit. But I think I'd put my money on Pereira too. Honestly, particularly if the odds are, if he's an underdog, I think I would do that. I think I'd drop money on that. It's interesting. Like, I don't think you should count on Izzy getting a finish. I'm looking at his stuff, and if I'm reading this right, his last 8 fights, 6 have been decision. Think about that. That's pretty crazy.
Yes, but if you think about it, the people he did finish were people who pushed forward. Granted, that
Whitaker and Costa?
Yeah, I was going to say Costa tried pushing forward, and he got finished for it. Yoel and him just stared at each other. And then the second time, Whitaker pushed at him, but Izzy countered a lot. And Izzy did touch up Robert a lot in that second fight. They touched each other up a lot.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's a shame, because, Whitaker, it's like, he just doesn't have his body. It's like, Izzy's too damn tall and long, It's like, and that's why it surprised me, although I don't think if he rematched Gastelum, it would not. Izzy has grown a lot since then.
Yeah.
Gastelum is like the opposite body type of Izzy, and was touching him up.
Gastelum's also fallen off, though, unfortunately.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Any hope of a rematch was killed by Darren Till beating him by decision back in 2020.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started with Darren Till. I'm a huge Darren Till fan, and he hasn't been doing too hot either. I hope he makes a comeback.
But he's best friends with Chimaev now. He's coming back strong.
Yeah, they're like boys.
Yeah, he's best friends with Khamzat Chimaev. He's coming back strong. Don't worry. Your boy will figure it out.
That All Stars, that Swedish gym where Gustafsson and Hazmat train.
Yep.
Now he's like boys with them. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I actually would. I think I would. Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. Assuming that if Pereira really is finding like some success on the feet and is wants to burn his gas tank a little bit, I could see a second round TKO. If he's not finding that much success, I think he would be wise to reserve his tank for a 5-round fight, because I don't know how his gas tank is. Izzy obviously can handle 5 rounds, but I don't know. I'm thinking if Izzy wins, it's going to be without any fluke. It's Pereira getting tired.
Yeah.
And Izzy starting to piece him up in the 4th and 5th round. So Pereira, I think, needs to watch his gas tank, because if he's not finishing Izzy, like once we start getting into round 3 and Izzy has not sustained a lot of damage, it's going to start being in his favor. If that's what I'm saying. I think Izzy wants a longer fight. I'm just so damn excited because I think we're gonna. I am expecting to see a strike, and I don't want to like knock on wood. I don't want to say, I don't want it to be like some kind of like what was it, Mark Hunt or something, and what's his name, Black Beast, Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
I think it was like certain fights. You're like, this is gonna be a banger. Oh my god!
You're thinking Ngannou Lewis.
Ngannou Lewis. Something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm hoping like it's not gonna be like that because like everything about this fight says this is gonna be a fucking striking masterpiece. So I really can't freaking wait, man. I can't wait. There's so many scenarios I can imagine this fight going where it's going to be amazing. Like, what if we get like a second Gastelum fight where Izzy gets pieced up and then like
you can't kill me. I'm not afraid to die.
Yeah, it's like I'm not afraid to die. And like I would become a fan once again. I really would if he did that. I have no idea what's going to happen. I can't wait for Chandler. Personally, I think I'm more excited for Chandler and Poirier because I'm more attached to those guys, especially Poirier. I fucking love Poirier. It's honest. The Chandler Poirier fight it feels like a title fight, but actually no, that's what lightweight is. Lightweight, it's the most talent stacked division. So the top 4 guys are all championship level. You know,
I think that and featherweight. I think featherweight, the top 5 guys could all. Granted, Volk is another being above everybody else.
He's pound for pound.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Volk is pound for pound best right now.
He is because it was Usman, then Usman lost. But yeah,
you think he'll fight? You think he'll fight Islam?
I think that's what's say because the only person in the top 5 Volk hasn't beaten is Yair, and Yair's hurt, so he can't fight Yair. So. Yeah. Plus, Yair's most recent win was, you could argue it was a fluke over Ortega because Ortega got hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of Ortega, I props to him for being like still on top because after dying to Holloway, you would think that's like a steal your soul kind of fight, and he was never the same after that fight. But I don't know what happened. He was just like still doing his thing. So props to him.
My hypest moment in MMA all time was when he knocked down Volk in the 3rd round, jumped on him with the guillotine. Just the absolute hype I felt when he got his neck, and then Volk broke out, and then 2 seconds later got caught in a triangle. That whole round is the craziest round of mixed martial arts outside of round 4. Rory McDonald and fucking Robbie Lawler. Yeah, where both the broken ass noses stared at each other, blood pouring down their face.
Yeah, I remember that. He's just like kind of spat out blood. He's like, What's up?
Yep. Dude, I love
disgusting ripped lip.
One of my favorite shots in MMA. My 2 favorite shots, I should say, is Tony after they checked Pettis' cut in their fight, and Tony's got the blood dripping down his face, and he's smiling and bouncing around.
Yeah,
that. Just bleed Tony, and after the corner of round 4, what's the coach's name? George's coach, very famous guy.
Faraz Sahabi.
Yeah, Faraz Sahabi looks at Rory and says, 5 minutes and you're world champion. He stands up and they zoom in on his face, and Mike Goldberg repeats the words, and you just see like the blood pouring from Rory's face.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's so.
You're like 5 minutes and you're a champion, or 5 minutes and you. I remember something
5 minutes
like
and you're
that.
champion.
5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
God, so,
I remember that.
I love MMA. I love blood sport. No wonder people watched other people kill each other 300 years ago. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't be 300 years ago. My God, it would have been like however long ago. Back in ancient Rome. No wonder. No wonder people watched this. But
well, don't forget that Nate Diaz, the classic bloody, where he's like flexing his muscles and gritting his teeth, and he got
with Connor. Yup. Oh my God! And let's not forget Robbie and Carlos Condit after their fight, where they both just laid on the cage right next to each other, and John McCarthy came up and gave them both a pat on the back.
Yes. I remember that.
That was a robbery, by the way. That should have been Carlos's fight. That should have been Carlos's title. But I love Robbie Lawler, but Robbie Lawler did not win that fight. What other big MMA shots are there? Now that we're on this topic, Johnny Hendricks' shock after they announced George as the winner, where he just drops to the ground. I mean, it's sad looking back because I mean it's the biggest robbery. I mean, now
I
you can
have to
argue
watch it.
Sean and Peter, but it's the greatest robbery in mixed martial arts.
No, I have to watch it because I have to rewatch that fight and really see because it's classic. Remember seeing George's bruised up face at the
Yep.
press conference, and he's
Yep.
the winner.
It's
I'm assuming he laid on Rory, but Rory beat the shit out of him.
So the thing is, I haven't seen the fight either, but I remember I was talking to John, and for those of you who don't know, John is a very close friend of mine. John is kind of the one who got me into MMA, and John is like Ish's level of like they know just about everything about everybody. But I remember I asked him, I was like, did Johnny win the fight? He just looked at me and he was like, it's the biggest robbery of all time. I do not know how those judges sat down for 25 minutes, watched that fight, and decided George was the winner. And usually I do not call robbery, but that was a robbery. And I was like, okay,
Rob,
I will
yeah.
take your word for it. Hello, Kamo.
What's up?
Yeah, we are filming a podcast, but we're about to end. So
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, it's fine.
There we go.
We're about to sidebar into the ending here. So
Yeah, I've just been here too, Kamo, so it's all good.
So,
Nope.
to wrap this up a bit, because now we've I wanted to go over an hour, but now we're like an hour 15, so let's wrap it. So, with that being said, we're going to run down our predictions for each fight. I've got Puelles beating Hooker round 1 submission. I think Gutierrez is going to win by decision. I actually think that's going to be a good fight as well. I think that's going to be a big stand and bang fight. I think Gutierrez is going to win by decision. I have Poirier also by decision. I can't see him knocking out Chandler. I have Weili knocking out Carla because Carla does not do well against strikers because if you remember, Joanna destroyed her the first time she had the belt. And I have my insane MMA brain has Alex Pereira round 2. My rational MMA brain has Izzy probably round 4 or 5.
Or just a decision,
Or a decision.
like usual.
Yes. And what is your rundown predictions real quick?
Honestly, I'm almost matching you. So I think Claudio is going to win too by submission. I want Hooker to win. I'll probably bet on Hooker, but that's just my stupid little thing because I'm sure he's a huge underdog. But no, I agree with you on that. I agree again. Gutierrez by decision. I'm hoping Frankie Edgar, though, goes out on his shield and looks like a badass and shows a lot of heart doing so. Poirier and Chandler by decision. Sucks. I don't want it to go to decision. I kind of agree with you, though, that I don't see Poirier finishing him. Chandler's tough as shit. I don't want it to be decision, but I also agree with you on that. Is this a 5-rounder?
No, because it's the third fight. It's going to be a 3-rounder.
Damn it. Oh,
Yeah,
man. Then
it's just
then
like
that's
Gaethje
even
and
more
Chandler. It's
so.
like, I want to see 5 rounds, but unfortunately.
there's no submission happening here. So,
No.
I mean, yeah, unfortunately, decision. It's going to be like a badass decision. Hopefully. Weili, I don't know if Weili. I want Weili to TKO as far as I would love that. I'm scared as to because Esparza really has. If she takes down Weili, I think she can keep her down on the ground and really take the wind out of her sails, man. I don't want her to. I really want Weili to win. So I'm still a little scared. I want Weili to win by knockout. It might just go to decision. It might go to decision and be super close, and like it'd be like Weili will piece her up and then gets taken down, and then Carla just gets it by decision. But I don't know. I don't think I even want to bet on this fight. I do want Weili to win though, but I can also see it be decision by Carla if Weili cannot get off the ground.
You have
I
to
don't
pick
know.
one-ish. Pick one.
I
Who is
do?
it? You have to pick one. You have to be definitive.
You know what? Weili is such a badass. She deserves to be the champ. Weili by knockout, I think second or third. Anyways, and I want Pereira to win. I think Izzy. I don't think Izzy. I would normally think second round, but I don't. Izzy has not sustained a lot of damage at all throughout the years. So I think Izzy's going to have to take a bit of a beating. I'm thinking end of third round to fourth round TKO Pereira. But Izzy can totally win. Izzy, don't. This is like 50-50, but maybe even 60-40. I mean, I think statistically, Izzy's supposed to win this. He's undefeated in middleweight. Why would you bet against him? And he's also fighting a striker. If anything, the person to beat Izzy would be some amazing wrestler that could just keep him on the ground. Kind of like what Jan did to him. But yeah, so that's my prediction.
All right, then here, let's do our little outro here. Let me turn up the music a little bit. So that is going to be the end of our podcast. First podcast in a month and a half. Thank you to those who listened to it live, the few of you that are here, but I appreciate you nonetheless. With that being said, UFC 281 tonight, November 12th. I need to rush and get this out on Spotify and YouTube for the listening pleasure of everybody that will actually listen to this. Thank you for joining me, Ish. You've been a great co-host. Very much appreciated you joining me on this. I know Ish is in a hotel right now. He's not even on his regular Discord. He was on his phone. I probably should have pointed that out at the beginning, but I mean, what a trooper. I appreciate you joining me for this.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And yeah, a little outro. Obviously, I am the host, Wednesday. This has been the Whispers Lounge podcast. I know they've just been chilling here, but we'll let them get an outro too. Kmo here. You actually see him on the screen. That is X31. This is one of his beats you are listening to right now. Go listen to X31 on Spotify. Are you on the other streaming platforms as well?
Yeah. Yeah, Apple Music, all that stuff. Good stuff.
Yes. So please go stream this man's music. And then we've got the inspiration for this podcast. Tyler here from Ty Loves Movies. Just did an episode about Halloween. Very intriguing. It was one of those that was very long, but you did not know it was long because you were just engrossed in listening to it. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Are you only on Spotify?
No, I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I believe. It's just those two, and it's through Anchor. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. And I do have a podcast that I'm working on to talk about some big DC news that's in the works. It was my birthday this week, so it was a little off. But yeah, so yeah, thank you for the shout out, Kelso. I appreciate it.
Of course. That is where we're gonna end, and I will hopefully try and stick to a real schedule on this and do this once a week. So until next week, the topic is probably going to change a lot because there's a lot of things I have interest in. So appreciated, and goodbye for now.